What if I'm someone I don't want around? If you're a massive pop music fan, just the way I am, you've probably already heard the name Adela. At least I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but that's just me and my accent. I guess that's how I would say it. Anyway, I would say that right now she's quite hard to miss. I would say that she's killing it, especially since she just embarked as an opener on a Demi Lovato's tour and all. So that's quite exciting for her. But in this video, I want to talk about her newest song. So, on April 17th, Adela released her newest single, KGB. And I would say it's definitely something new and different, especially if we compare it to her previous releases. I would say if we look at Superstar, for example, her other massive hit, she definitely changed directions and pivoted towards more like house, electronic, and alternative music. Because like I said, Superstar, oh, maybe I didn't say it, but I alluded that it's different, because in my opinion, Superstar is more of like pop sounding with an early 2000s vibe. At least in my head, it's kind of reminded me of, not maybe the song itself, but the music video reminded me of Dirty by Christina Aguilera, and maybe that's just in my head. I don't know. You guys can comment what you think about it. Also, she debuted a whole new hairstyle. Oh, okay, maybe not a whole new, because she had pink hair before, but now her hair is significantly darker and more intense. And maybe some people didn't notice it, or maybe some think that it's not that big of a change. I think it's exciting because it's kind of significant. It's significant because it signifies, that usually things that are significant signify something. Duh. Anyway, it signifies that she's entering a new era with the full force and that she's ready to take on the world. And while the sound is not completely my cup of tea, I can still appreciate the artistic endeavor and the risk that Adela is taking with this song and this type of sound, because I think it's very likely that any future music that she's gonna put out, at least for her next project, and I'm anticipating an album from her, is gonna sound more like that, which is quite exciting. However, different sound was not the only thing that caught the attention of the internet users. And I would say that this sentiment that I'm about to talk about in this video is not as prominent as others that I've talked about on this channel before. I've seen far less takes like this. Still, I wanted to give my 2 cents into this conversation, especially since my cultural background is somewhat similar to Adela's. I thought that you guys may appreciate my perspective and input. But before I talk about the controversy that is connected to the newest song controversy, take that with a grain of salt. I think it would be quite interesting to talk about who Adela is and a little bit about her background, because I think that she's a very fascinating person, and her history and how she got into the entertainment industry is something worth sharing and discussing, because maybe it will give you guys more insight into who she is as an artist. Adela, or more specifically Adela KGB, I hope that's how you pronounce it. If not, I'm really sorry, is a Slovak singer, songwriter, and dancer. And she rose to prominence as a contestant in the 2023 reality show Dream Academy, which concluded with the formation of the girl group Katsai. And I have to say that her reception on the show was mixed, and unfortunately some fans were mean to her and calling her a mean girl for criticizing Manon. And I have to say that in my opinion she didn't do anything wrong. She honestly expressed her frustration towards the situation on hand. And as we all know, the Manon situation is already complicated enough. I made a video about it. No, I made 2 videos about it. They're on the channel. You're welcome to go and see it if you find this topic interesting. luckily, after Adela's elimination, her perception among viewers has changed, and for the better, may I add. And when Adela started to release solo music, many fell in love with her, mainly with her star quality, because if I remember correctly, that was one of the reasons that for her elimination. It was said that she would do a lot better as a solo artist, and I have to agree, because if you look at what Katsai has released, again, the Pinky Up and Gnarly and Internet Girl is a whole other can of worms that I will not be opening now, because I already did that. And yeah, but even if you look at Debut or Touch, I honestly cannot imagine Adela singing any of it, because it's just so not her vibe. So her talent would be just wasted in Katsai, at least in my opinion. So at the end of the day, I think it's better that she didn't make it in the group and that she had an opportunity to become a solo artist. Her debut single, Home Wrecked, was released independently in 2024, and in 2025, Adela signed with Capitol Records and released her debut EP, The Provocateur. Here, I would like to go a little bit farther down the memory line, because as a child, Adela began taking ballet lessons in Moscow, starting when she was 3 years old, so really young. She has stated that watching the American teen sitcom Hannah Montana at 3 years old inspired her to become a singer. She taught herself English starting at 8 years old by watching American television series and interviews with American singers, and she became fluent by 9, which is quite impressive and very admirable, because, I'm someone who's still, I would consider myself fluent. I'm making a video entirely in English, and, this whole channel is run in English, and I still probably make some mistakes that, luckily, you guys are kind enough not to point out, but as someone who is not a native speaker, whose English isn't their first language, I'm pretty sure that construction was not correct, but let's ignore that. I find it quite impressive that she managed to teach herself English to the level of becoming fluent by 9. I can say that from my own experience, I started feeling comfortable speaking in English when I was 16, and I've been learning English since I was, 7 maybe, or even earlier, but the learning process was a bit different, because it was mainly, colors, just words, numbers, whatever. So that's quite impressive. After that, Adela moved to Vienna to join the Vienna State Ballet as a teenager, and then she moved to London to join the English National Ballet School the following year. I'm not sure what year that was, but yeah, she was young. And why am I bringing up her ballet experience? That's because Adela incorporates her ballet roots into many of her live performances. She's often being seen in pointe shoes and in ballet clothing. I meant the tutus, but I'm not sure, ballet skirts, but I'm not sure what the proper terminology is, and Google wasn't very helpful. So I hope I'm not offending any ballet dancers. And I do think that it's a huge advantage for her, because this part of her life, the ballet training and ballet in general, is something that is so marketable and so specific, a thing that can be used in branding. She's doing that, so that's amazing, but that's something so brandable, so marketable, something that makes her stick out among other singers and makes her more noticeable. So I think that's great, and why I wanted to bring that up, because I find that fascinating. But let's now go back to the topic that sparked the idea behind this video, the newest song KGB. And while most fans were quite excited for the release, especially after hearing the snippet, I think it goes, you want a pop star with a big bra for them big hits. I might be paraphrasing that or making shit up, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes because it's, very catchy. And I can't say I wasn't one of them. Superstar is one of my overall favorite songs. I listen to it almost daily. And I love the music video and the whole vibe of Superstar, so I was quite excited for the newest release. Especially since you can clearly see that Adela is hungry for the success and will do anything. And here I mean put in all of the necessary hard work to make it as a star. Not that she would, do some awful shit to basically succeed. I meant that she is clearly a very hardworking person and someone who is very ambitious and wants to make it as a star, which is also, once again, very admirable. Admirable? I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, and I have to say there has not been a boring moment from that girl, not a boring music video or a live performance. And each time she gives her all to entertain her fans. And again, I am sounding like a broken record, but that's very inspiring and very admirable. And in my opinion, I think that some other people, Justin, see my previous video on that, if you want more context, should work on that as well. Because, performers are meant to perform and entertain. And I really don't like the argument when people say, like, whenever someone... Okay, every singer has had or will have a bad moments, they won't hit the notes, their voice will crack, they will forget the lyrics. It happens, we're all human. But when people say, whenever someone constantly gives bad performances and people say, but he or she is only human and, you try singing for a change. I mean, I can try, but at the same time, I'm not a professional singer, I wish, but I'm not. So my job is not to sound good and entertain the crowd and perform at the height of my abilities, at the highest abilities possible. You know what I mean? And like I said, days off happen, and I'm not saying that every performance needs to be perfect, but whenever there is a consistent kind of way and obvious laziness to the performance, it's annoying. So it's great to see Adela, who clearly gives it her all and just fights for it. And I think she is one of the contenders to be nominated for the Grammy Awards for the Best New Artist next year. Okay, but what is the controversy? Because I am getting sidetracked again. That tends to happen whenever I start talking. Some people thought that the topic was not handled in a proper way and that not enough care was used to handle this topic. But some of you may be like, okay, why? So let me explain, because that is quite a story. Let's put it that way. The main issue I saw people having with the song is its title, because KGB was the primary security and intelligence agency of the Soviet Union from 1954 until the late 1980s. It was established in Moscow and it operated under a veil of security, as it was responsible for gathering intelligence, conducting counterintelligence, and enforcing state security regulations. The organization was a centralized unit directly linked to the government and was notorious for surveilling citizens to ensure complete compliance with communist ideology. The KGB's extensive operations include electronic espionage and the maintenance of a secret police force, while its activities sometimes drew public scrutiny due to allegations of public repression and violence, including high-profile assassinations. So yeah, you could say it is a sensitive topic, and it really is, because the whole discussion of Russia and communism, it is a big topic like in Europe right now because of obviously the war in Ukraine. And as far as I know, Americans are very against communism for a good reason. But that's a whole nother discussion, and I won't be getting into that because that warrants its own video and its own research. So because of that, some people had a problem with Adela using the name of such an organization as a song title. And to add to that, since Adela's from Slovakia, a country that was heavily affected by the organization and Soviet Union in general, they thought that she should handle this topic with more care. Not that I necessarily agree. Now, as someone who was born and raised in one of the countries heavily affected both by the Soviet Union and the KGB, I think that I have enough insight to express my opinion. Especially since most people who tend to have a problem with these songs are from the United States, a country that has never even been close to the situation of countries such as Slovakia. So, as many other artists, this song uses metaphors, and the song uses these terms related to KGB metaphorically to describe Adela's intense spy-like approach to leaving ballet in order to pursue music career in secret. I mean, there's a lyric, I was like 8 working the night shift to learn English. I'm like a spy, I studied this shit, call me the KG bitch. In the chorus, Adela clearly expresses her feelings toward her experience at the beginning of her journey towards stardom. Obviously, when she calls herself a spy, it's not supposed to be taken literally. The way I see it, those can be taken as an attempt to mask the feeling of otherness and not belonging, because after all, before learning English, she must have felt like an outsider, which is a feeling many non-native English speakers probably share. I know I do. As someone who grew up learning English, yet becoming somewhat fluent later in life, like I mentioned, I only felt comfortable speaking in English and thinking that I can somewhat hold a conversation at 16, and she did it at 9. Very impressive. And gaining this new skill gave me a whole new perspective, one that was not available to me before because of the language barrier. I mean, now I can freely watch movies, and sometimes, when I go to the cinema, there are obviously subtitles. But if I'm in a foreign country, for example, if I went to the UK and I wanted to go to the cinema there, obviously there are no subtitles in my native language, so I am able to interact with the movie, and I don't need someone to translate it for me. And also in speaking to other people, I'm able to communicate without any middleman who would have to translate whatever I have to say. Because now I have a perspective of an English speaker and one of someone who speaks a whole different language. And I'd like to imagine that Adela may seem to share the same sentiment. If not, oh well, that's my opinion. Sue me. In short, the lyrics are meant to be ironic and somewhat sarcastic, which was to be expected, if I'm being honest. I don't know about you, but I think it was borderline stupid to expect anything different from her. Firstly, have you ever listened to anything released by Adela, ever? Just look at the Superstar. The lyrics are literally "Pretty girl, go on and cause a scene, prove how bad you need it, put on a show for me, dancing for the devil, bring your body and your energy, kill you got it, go on flaunt it, sell your sex and soul to me." The whole first verse of this song exclusively talks about how awful, toxic and dark the entertainment industry. It's irony at its finest. So I have no idea why people are surprised that she took this approach with KGB too. And with that out of the way, I think that people forget that different cultures deal with their trauma in different ways. And as far as I'm concerned, Balkan countries, which Slovakia is a part of, tend to have pretty dark and twisted sense of humor, something that they share with the Eastern European countries. So the way she used the KGB reference in the song probably tracks with the way people might have been dealing with this topic within her inner circle. Of course, I have no idea, I'm just making assumptions, but from personal experience, that's usually the way it goes. You sort of twist those traumatic events into a joke, dark sense of humor and all, to kind of make a light of it, because obviously it was horrible, but what are we gonna do about it now? All we can do is really laugh and hope that it won't happen in the future. And I might have understood the backlash if she expressed any sort of support for Russia or its actions, but she didn't. In fact, at the end of the video, there's a message in big, bold red letters stating that she doesn't support any of Russia's actions, both past and present, and that she supports Ukraine. So yeah, I feel like the backlash is totally unwarranted, and while the song may not be completely my vibe, I'm beyond excited to see what Adela has in store for us. But what do you guys think? Did you like Adela's new song? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions. And that will be all from me for today. If you made it till the end of this video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. At the end, let me quickly introduce myself because I didn't want to bore you with introductions at the beginning. I'm Mara, and on this channel I talk about everything and anything pop culture related. If that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing. And if you like the edit that I'm making in the background of this video, you're welcome to check it out. It'll be posted on my Instagram at mara.withani. And yeah, like I said, consider checking out my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! What am I now? What if I'm so